In Hive's 6 years of existence as a featured server, there's been many game modes that have been added. But in that time, there's also been many game modes removed, and in today's video, we'll be going over every Hive game mode that's been vaulted or deleted. Hope you enjoy the video. Alright, the first game mode that's ever vaulted on the Hive was Snow Wars. Some of you watching probably never even knew it existed, but from 2019 to 2021, there was a limited time game mode during the winter. It's basically Ground Wars with the snowballs. Snow Wars maxed out at level 10, and you got a costume. Unless you were unlucky and you did it in 2020, and you get a hub title instead, and you just get scanned. But Ground Wars used to be a limited time game mode, and it was a seasonal game mode that was released around Easter. But whenever the Hive Arcade released back in 2022, it became permanent. Back when Ground Wars was a seasonal game mode, the costume you got for maxing it was a groundhog costume, which is one of the few costumes I regret not getting. Because like, look at it, it's a groundhog. And it's also one of the rarest costumes on the Hive today. This costume is in fact so rare that while editing this video, I could only find 3 screenshots of it on the internet after looking for about 30 minutes. These 2 old Piglin Mafia member-only videos you can be seen wearing it, and I found this one in the replies to an obscure post on the Hive forum from 2020. So yeah, it's very rare. One of the only main differences between Snow Wars and Ground Wars is that in Snow Wars you could actually have up to 20 players, and with Ground Wars you can only have 12. So obviously Snow Wars games are much more chaotic and much more fun, and probably went by quicker. Overall, Snow Wars is one of Hive's most forgotten game modes, considering how long this game has been vaulted. The next game mode that was vaulted from the Hive was a Sonic game mode, released back in 2021. There was a collaboration that Hive did with Sega. In this update, there was a new Sonic-themed hub, maps, rings to collect around the map, and a party minigame with Sonic-themed game modes. The game starts off with showing 3 different random game modes that were selected from a pool of 6 games. And after each game, you get a certain amount of points. The player with the most amount of points at the end would win the game. Chow Rescue was a game where you did parkour to gather as many chows around the map. You would like find them and then take them back to the middle to get points. This was a pretty fun game. The next one was Go Fast. It was like a death run like game. It's a similar map to Chemical Plant from Sonic. It's really fun when you race to the end as quick as you can. This is a nice game. And then Ring Royale. It was a game where you collect as many rings as you can around the map. We can shoot people to make them drop the rings, which could be very, very stupid at times. It was fun, I guess. Red Light, Green Light was another game on here. It's alright, but it was a little rage-inducing. Basically, it's like a death run type of map where you try to get to the end as quick as you can, but there's a traffic light that you can constantly see, and whenever it turns red, you have to stop. If not, you get teleported back to your last checkpoint. So sometimes you're in mid-air, you get teleported right back. Or it's sometimes a little gimmicky, but it was a fun game mode, I guess. Next year's Badnik Range. At first, I hated this, but once I got good at it, it's pretty cool. It's a game where you have to shoot as many flying enemies as you can with a bow to get, as many points as you can. Pretty fun. And finally, Ring Dash. This is a game where you like have a spin dash similar to Sonic, where if you crouch, you can just jump through the rings. You have to jump through as many rings as you can. You could also unlock a secret Knuckles costume if you got to level 10 in the Sonic game mode. Looking back, this is one of my favorite game modes the Hive's ever released. You can tell a lot of effort was placed in this game mode, even though it's only out for a few weeks. The next one is technically not a game mode, but I decided to throw it in the video anyway. The Hive Arcade. The Hive Arcade released in 2022 and brought back Ground Wars and Block Drop as permanent game modes, and Capture the Flag and Bridge were also released with it. The arcade brought with it a new hub and 3 micro games in the hub that many people have forgotten about: Spleef, Duels, and Nemo Slap. Spleef was pretty self-explanatory. You just get a shovel and you have to mine out the floor underneath the other person. Pretty fun. Duels, you could choose between a list of a few different types of duel options. It was a little buggy, but it was mostly fine. And then Nemo Slap. You literally just slap people with Nemos and they go flying. That is the only premise of this micro game. These 3 minigames were available to play in the hub, which is the first and only time this has actually happened. There was also 50 different like golden mailbots hidden around the map, which if you collect them all, you can unlock a secret area and a cool mailbot costume. The micro games in the arcade hub were pretty cool, to be honest, and I'd love to see them added back to the Hive someday. The next list of vaulted games, I'm just going to call the Skywars limited time game mode, so LTMs for short. There's been 3 LTMs released on Skywars throughout the years: Sky Royale, Skywars Kids, and Skywars Classic. All of these game modes had some flaws. Firstly, Sky Royale. Sky Royale was a giant game of Skywars with 40 people, with a bunch of small islands on the outside and a big middle in the center with inner chest. It also had a world border, slowly destroying the outmost islands with like TNT until everyone made their way to the center. This game mode was fun at first, it became very repetitive very quickly, and relied too much on RNG and getting a good spawn. If you spawn next to middle, you can get the best loot, and you just win immediately. Also, having 40 players in the Skywars game was a bit too chaotic. You're almost always gonna get cleaned up if you got a kill on someone. I still think it was a fun game while it lasted, but after a couple weeks, no one even really played the game anymore, and lobbies took forever to fill, so I think it was the right decision to vault Sky Royale. Skywars Kids is probably my favorite of the 3. If it was just normal Skywars, we had a list of 5 different kits to choose from, with each kit giving their own benefit. It was sort of popular at first, but just like Skywars, yeah, struggled to fill lobbies after it was out for a couple weeks. Most people played it for a few days, and then just moved on. It had some funny kits, was only popular because it was new, and most Skywars players opted for normal Skywars instead because it was just familiar. It could also get very frustrating at times. For example, the Voidwalker kit. If you knock someone off with the Voidwalker kit, boom, they're back. They respawn. And if you're like me and like sweaty at Skywars and you're trying to kill everyone, it gets so annoying to knock this guy off. Oh, we respawn. Knock this guy off. Oh, we respawn. So it gets a little frustrating. The other one, the Trapper kit. Pretty normal kit, but you could go invisible. So people probably got frustrated at just getting killed by an invisible person. I think Skywars kits could have done better with a few changes in some of the kits. It was kind of destined to have the same fate as every other one of these game modes in this video, to be vaulted. And lastly, Skywars Classic. In my opinion, the worst of the 3. Skywars Classic took a more fast-paced approach. You only had 20 seconds to loot your island instead of 30, and the ores were completely removed. One of the main novelties of this game mode was the trial chamber in the middle of the map. If you managed to find a trial key in a chest, you use on the chamber in the middle. You could drop out different assortments of items. They were pretty good. Also, this game experimented with some new items like the wind charge, trident, and totem of undying, which was This game also had kits. I don't even know why. It didn't even need them. This game mode was way too fast-paced and too chaotic. It had so many flaws, I don't even know where to start, but I'm just gonna go off on how stupid this game mode was. First of all, one of the kits had a power 1 bow, which became way too overpowered in this game because of this next reason. There's no good armor in Skywars Classic. You can never get anything good. And like a normal game of Skywars, you can normally leave your island with at least full chainmail armor, a couple pieces of iron, maybe a diamond piece of armor if you're lucky. In Skywars Classic, you're lucky to be leaving your island with more than some chainmail boots, an iron helmet, and a bucket of milk. I don't know why there's a bucket of milk. There never used to be a bucket of milk. It's Skywars. You fight people. There's milk. And also there's a spyglass. If you want to spy on your neighbors, I guess. It's so stupid. I don't even know why. And also there's like no way to heal besides like health potions. And they're pretty rare. So if you fight someone, you get really low, you're probably just dead. But also there's like wind charges. So great game. Anyways, this game had too many problems to overcome, and within a month, there were times Ground Wars had more players in this game. This game needed to be vaulted, in my opinion. Alright, now for the most popular game mode on this list by far, and one of my favorites on here, Treasure Wars. Treasure Wars existed in the Hive for 5 years before it got replaced by Bed Wars about a year ago. It was one of the first 3 game modes in the Hive when it first released back in 2018. But with the release of Bed Wars, it changed the way you played the game. In Treasure Wars, a fast-paced, sweaty playstyle is encouraged. Instead of getting 16 war start of a game, you got 32, allowing for a more aggressive playstyle and taking teams out earlier. In Bed Wars, a more relaxed/grindy approach is rewarded, and the games usually take much longer than an average game of Treasure Wars. Deep Slate can be getting very quickly in this game mode, and it takes 5 diamonds to save for a pickaxe, which feels like an eternity in this game mode. And Deep Slate can be getting with only 2. So this means as soon as you get close to the diamond generator, you can almost immediately get Deep Slate. So this obviously makes games longer and all that, but it helps the more casual players, I guess. But to be honest, people have different opinions on Treasure Wars. Some people love it, others are glad it's gone. In my personal opinion, I think Hive made the right choice switching to Bed Wars, even though I really enjoy Treasure Wars. Bed Wars appeals more to the casual player, because they can utilize more things to win games. If I'm being honest, if there's a sweat in your Treasure Wars game, you're probably toast. Just leave the game. At least in Bed Wars, there's fireballs, wind charges, totems. You have more things to outplay your opponent. And also, Treasure Wars Mega was vaulted as well. Not much to say about this game mode. It's pretty fun playing on there occasionally, but I'd love to see a Bed Wars version of this game mode come to the Hive. A Bed Wars Mega would be great, so Hive, if you're listening, please make it. This last game that Hive is vaulted is Mob Game. This game might be coming back as a seasonal game during Halloween, or might be vaulted. Hive hasn't really stated yet, but I'm just going to assume it's going to be vaulted for now. Mob Game was a game where you start as a random mob, and basically your goal is to kill a different mob to transform into a new mob with new abilities to attack, and some mobs were obviously better than others, and your goal is to transform into 10 different mobs to win. Honestly, I didn't get to play this game mode too much, but some of the mobs did seem to have it much harder than others. While the concept is cool, the execution could have been a bit better to make all the mobs balanced. For example, if your poor soul was the only one stuck on Enderman, you're gonna spend about 3 minutes misplacing grass blocks. The only really incentive to actually play this game mode a lot is the max level. You get a creeper head hat. I didn't get it. I'm not a Hive sweat, so but that would really be the only reason to play this game for more than a few rounds. It gets very repetitive very quickly. It's fun, but not fun to play a lot of. I do admit, it's fun to use some of the attacks and go on a kill streak and transform into one mob and then another and then another. This was definitely good to make this a limited time game mode and not a permanent one. But overall, fun game mode. And that concludes the list of Hive's deleted game modes. I hope you all enjoyed. I've never made this type of video before, so if you did enjoy this, let me know in the comments down below. And subscribe if you did. And thank you to all my members, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for supporting me. And I'll see you all in the next video.